Sri Lanka is at a crucial juncture. Any new president who is going to take the responsibility of the nation needs to do some critical reforms if we are to resurrect the country from the situation it is in right now, from economic recovery to equitable and sustainable social recovery. And the set of essential reforms are already identified and available. The governance diagnostic that the civil society carried out and thereafter the International Monetary Fund carried out, agreed to by the government, sets out a very concrete plan of action of essential governance anti-corruption reforms that definitely need to be done if we are to address the root causes that led to the economic bankruptcy, the gaps in governance that allows grand corruption to seep in. So a critical element of reform for any country that needs to eradicate corruption in the public sphere has to be procurement. Procurement, purchasing of goods and services for the state, needs to happen in a transparent and accountable manner. This is a very vulnerable area for corruption. So basically, in Sri Lanka, we have a problem. We do not have one law that sets the standard. We had national guidelines that were not uniformly followed among the institutions. Now it has become a part of the IMF recommendations, and we hear that there is a draft law. It is imperative that a very good law that addresses public procurement, including often problematic area of procurement, which is unsolicited proposals based procurement, is addressed, because large scale procurement are happening in Sri Lanka that ties up Sri Lanka for decades in terms of loans through this kind of unsolicited proposal. There has to be one standard that has to be followed by all institutions, and in our governance diagnostic as well as in the IMF's diagnostic, it is also recommended as an immediate measure to bring transparency into this procurement content. This is public money. So the recommendation is that high valued procurements are published on a website, and we have seen that the government has taken some steps, but the information is not user friendly enough, and we need much more information for that level of accountability to be introduced. So it is really important also that the National Procurement Commission is given the independence and the resources it needs to be that entity that provides the oversight and that direction to the public procurement in the country. So this is a critical reform, and it's important that people require that these candidates who are asking for our vote actually provide very specific, clear, actionable reforms in terms of addressing the procurement related corruption in Sri Lanka. Another key reform that we see that often candidates like to talk about is recovery of stolen assets. We know during the Aragalaya, citizens asked for this. Citizens said, bring back the stolen money back to our nation. Now this is easier said than done. We do not have the legal framework, so that is why the IMF agreement also included the introduction of a proceeds of crime law, and now we've without actual public consultation, a law was a basic legal framework was drafted, and we got public access to this legal framework, and there have been many recommendations provided by some institutions like our institution. Now it is really important that this law is brought in without loopholes to set the legal framework for our country to engage diplomatically with the other country where our assets are lying, our stolen assets are lying, and to start this process. But just having a law will not be enough, like we've seen in Sri Lanka. We are very good at bringing lots of laws, signing lots of conventions, and then we neglect the law. We do not allow for those institutions to freely implement the law. The officials, the independent authority that will be set up to manage the asset recovery needs to be given the adequate resources and the space to do their job. And we need political will for the country to recover stolen assets and to take action against whoever who is responsible for those stolen assets. So this is really important that again these candidates who are promising stolen asset recovery have concrete measures about how exactly they will bring about a good law and then ensure that action is taken against ongoing grand corruption. Already we don't have to sit and wait. We can start tracing assets. That is what it is called. For the grand corruption scandals, we know Pandora Papers and these leaks already revealed information about assets stolen from our country by certain individuals and lying in different countries. The process of tracing and finding out who's accountable can happen already. Institutions have to work together. Law enforcement institution, and this just needs the blessing of the freedom given by the political authority, which is the problem that is lacking right now. Of course, we have to talk about the institution which is having the mandate in Sri Lanka to spearhead the anti-corruption agenda, which is the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. Now we got a new law last year that basically consolidated the existing laws against bribery and corruption in Sri Lanka, and we have now a new Anti-Corruption Act. Yes, as a piece of law, it is commendable. It enhances the powers given to this what we call CIABOC, Bribery Commission. Now the question lies in, is the CIABOC able to and willing to use that power and to proactively really set the anti-corruption agenda in Sri Lanka? They need to start taking action and demonstrating that they are having that will and the ability to take action, not against small corruption, small perpetrators, but against those top white-collar criminals who have robbed millions from this nation, whom normal people talk about but who are roaming around freely. They need to take action and win back the trust of the people. A key reform introduced by the new Anti-Corruption Act was to publicize the asset declarations of state officials and politicians, and through a digitalized system. And it is saddening that even though the law was introduced last September, even when the budget was introduced, we did not see adequate resources being provided to the Bribery Commission to set up the digitalized system. And they are still trying hard to secure the resources to set up the digitalized system. But as a preliminary measure to publicize the asset declarations, which so far in Sri Lanka were held as secret documents in each institution or in parliament, now have to be accessible to citizens. What the Bribery Commission did was that it published some asset declaration of officials and politicians and told us and publicized this news. But it is quite disheartening to see that in order for a citizen to access this information, the asset declaration, they had to have an email address, they had to provide their name and identity card number, and finally if they do this, and we know that not all citizens will have emails and all of this, and they'll be worried to give their identity card number, but say they did that, then finally the asset declaration we got from the system had very critical information redacted to the extent that bank balances have been erased. The date of start in the account has been deleted. See, the main purpose of publicizing asset declaration is so that there can be a check and balance on corruption, so that if particular official or politicians is gaining assets beyond their salary, that you can identify it. For that, critical information is needed. So by redacting, we have countered the purpose of it. So we call upon at this juncture to the people who want to be the president of this Sri Lanka and to those who will get power. This is your time to actually demonstrate that you are serious about the system change You're serious about addressing the problems in the country by actually committing to specific actions to address these critical reforms in Sri Lanka. Thank you.